program for this morning. We're going to be talking with, right now, Clinton City Administrator Andrew Kida with us. And coming, did I say Clinton?
I almost got a promotion.
Well, some people might argue that. Command City Administrator Andrew Kida with us this morning. And talking all things Camanche. All things Camanche this morning. And I guess we start there, Andrew. Of course, elections held, new councils coming in. I guess from the city administrator standpoint, what's that entail for you educating a bunch of new councilors? I know you got some returning and some not, and that's always it happens everywhere.
We have one new council member and the new mayor, and part of my function is to help them understand how the government functions, how local government functions in Camanche, what our ordinances are, and we use the Iowa League of Cities to help us educate them with some training manuals, and we send them to, or offer to send them to, training that the League of Cities offers, and what their roles are, what the function of their government is, based on which form of government each municipality has.
One of the issues, topics is Comanche City Hall. You haven't worked in there. Been a little odd.
Well,
anybody who's done home remodeling understands what you're going to talk about. But what are we doing? It's a big project, and we've talked about on this program. It's been talked about.
Yeah.
Enlarge, improve City Hall.
So
you're not back in yet.
We're not. We're working out of the offices, and we have opened the lobby for people to come in and pay their bills. The issue that we're having is these silly panic bars for the main doors. There's multiple doors in the facility that have panic bars, push bars from the inside, and they have trip switches for our key pass or key coding, and we can't get the panic bars, the hardware for the panic bars. And we were supposed to have them on December 15th, and they're still not in. So it's one of the things that's preventing. So I think what's going to happen here is we're going to manufacture something to get us through the next month to make sure that we can at least open the city hall and council chambers to be able to utilize them. Right now, they're probably in there laying the rest of the carpet on the old side for where the new council chambers will be. And they'll be finishing up the countertops and the electrical, and then putting in the grid for the drop ceiling is in, and they'll put the lights in and the new drop ceiling, and all the technology will go in next week. And I think from that standpoint, we'll be ready to utilize the space, but it won't be completed until we have the panic bars in. So
on that, I know it's because was monitoring the Command schools have a project, entryways, doors. I think they're missing the same.
Yep.
The same.
They got theirs. They were installing them this week, I think.
That's right.
And we haven't received ours yet. Same company, same vendor, same everything.
Same. Yep. Okay, I didn't know it was the same door, but yeah.
Yep.
So, maybe they started before you.
Well, it'd be nice if Mr. Parker would let us have some of those, but I don't think that's happening.
Yeah. And that seems to be a problem of different things being delayed everywhere.
It is. It really is supply chain materials that we can't get. A lot of it comes from overseas, and it's been clogged up in the ports there in Los Angeles, and it's just not finding its way back to us over here. The one panic bar we have in place, Doors Inc. Had to build it out of 5 different kits and assemble it, so we have at least one panic bar put in.
On that thought, do those things impact any other operations of the city, that shortage of things? The city operations, because you don't buy and sell that, buy too many things, or do
That's
you?
Correct. Yeah, the only thing it impacts is our ability to utilize other people's equipment and other things that we need to be able to get projects done, and that really hasn't impacted us yet. I think some of us have had discussions about what the impact will be with some of this money floating around to get projects done. And you can have all the money in the world if you don't have contractors available to perform the work. You're not getting any of that work done. We're a little concerned about how do we spend the ARP money that we received. I mean, there's certain things that we need to do that we can do, and we have a deadline by which we need to spend that money. And the question is, and there's only certain things we can spend it on. The question is, will there be enough contractors available to perform the functions that we're going to need to be able to spend that money? So it's much bigger than just supply chain. It's when the government dumps all kinds of money on you and you have to spend it, and you have to spend it on contractors who may not be available to perform the work.
Is that a different problem? Have you want you know the projects you want need to get done that are allowable, but you just can't find the right.
Right now, what we've mostly spent the money on that we received half of our ARP money. We'll receive the other half in July. We spent it on studies that we know we need to have happen. We spent it on some stormwater study that is going to be performed by our engineers, and we also localized some of that funding for phase 2 of our street improvement plan, which included storm sewer. And so you can't spend that ARP money on streets, but you can spend it on storm sewer. So it was about $90,000 worth of that, the proposal to do the work that was storm sewer related. So we've dedicated some of that funding to that.
And you mentioned streets, and we talked about that too. Streets everywhere. People complain about the streets, whether they deserve it or not. Sometimes they deserve it.
Absolutely.
You've done some work down there. You got
we've spent
you started out outlining a plan to fix streets.
Yes. So we've authorized phase 3. We've accepted a bid for phase 3 of our street improvement plan, and there are 5 phases of it. By the time the street improvement plan is done, this doesn't include the roundabout project. We will have spent $2.5 million repaving streets in Camanche in a 4-year period since we started that street improvement plan. So that's pretty aggressive, and that's not taking on any additional debt for any of that street work. So it's been a very wise management of the funding that we have available, and an organized method by which we go about repaving streets. And if people take a look around, there's been a lot of street work that's been done.
That's why it's hard to get. Says everybody wants my street done first, but you can't look at it that way.
You cannot. The best thing to do really is to identify large swaths of street where, number one, it hasn't been serviced in a long time, and number two, services the most citizens, the most traffic. You really want those streets to be in good condition. And we were supposed to do a portion of 5th Street 2 years ago. We shifted that out because there was a couple other streets that really needed our attention. So we shifted the responsibility of different phases of the street improvement plan to those other streets. And now in phase 3, all of 5th Street from, Washington Boulevard on the south end, all the way down to, I think it goes to 4th Avenue, that's completely going to be repaved. And that anybody who lives in Camanche knows that 5th Street over by the train tracks there is probably the worst street in the city. And we're going to do the whole darn thing. And that also includes some stormwater stuff, again, over by the other train tracks where it crosses, where there's a lot of water that gathers in that neighborhood. And we're going to work on some stormwater stuff over there. And again, that'll be the ARP funding that would take care of that. Normally that $90,000 would come out of road use. So that'll allow us to do another section or to add to the street improvement plan expenditure for the streets, because we were dedicating $90,000 for the water, our stormwater.
I know, Mr. Streets, can you talk a little bit about, I know about development. The city has implemented on Washington Boulevard, kind of the center, the TIF district.
We haven't implemented that yet. That's still on the table. We have to establish an urban renewal area first.
Yeah, how does that work, and what can it do for Camanche?
Right. So in an urban renewal area, you can create a TIF district, and what a TIF does is it freezes the tax. It freezes the valuation, the property valuation for the taxing bodies. So the school, the county, and the city receive the same dollar amount today as they will over the next 20 years. They're able to tax at a frozen rate. If the property value within the TIF increases, then the city can utilize that revenue coming in, and those people still pay the tax on the increased property value. It's that incremental increase that we can borrow against and use that increased tax revenue coming in to pay back the debt to do projects within the TIF district. And infrastructure is one of those key elements. So part of our capital improvement plan includes restructuring and repaving the north end of Washington Boulevard, I think from 5th over by Citizens First Bank all the way up to where our responsibility ends and the DOT picks up. It was widened some, and it was originally concrete underneath, and they didn't concrete all the way out. And you can start to see some of the divots along the sides where it's along the crack on the side of each side of the road. That's where the concrete stops and the dirt subbase begins. That was underdeveloped or underdone when they repaved Washington Boulevard 10 years ago. And we plan to fix that with capital improvement plan funding, which would be a general obligation debt to the city. However, because we put it in the TIF district, and we plan on doing that in 10 years. In the TIF district, if it's developed properly and there's money flowing in 10 years, instead of you putting it on a tax base, you can use TIF money to do that project and repave or fix Washington Boulevard to that end without it impacting the taxpayers of the rest of the city.
How does that help the development of the city? I know that's
what
are you looking for there?
If that's going to be your main business district, you want to have smooth streets and going in and out of the business area. That's very important. The last thing people want to do is try and open up a business on a crummy road. Business people, when they go to develop a property, they generally look at the infrastructure that's in place before they go building a building and making an investment there. So we want to make sure that the streets going in through town in the main business area are suitable for development.
What else are your hot topics in Camanche? What are you doing besides roundabouts? We'll get to that.
We have the roundabout coming up. That project is happening this summer. We have all the funding agreements in place. It's ready to go. We're working on the design aspect of it, trying to reduce some of the estimated costs. We have to trim about $100 and something thousand out of that estimated cost yet, and the engineers are working hard on that. And it's just a matter of some things you can do, like shortening up the outreach of the legs of the roundabout or the entrances of the roundabout. And that, the less curbing you have to put in, the less expensive it gets. So they're looking at making those finer adjustments to bring down the estimated cost. And we'll go out for an April bid letting and see where that lands. And we will probably go from there.
Get that done. Can we look for construction next year on that, do you think? Is that the plan? All the bids in April? So
well, bid letting is April. We'll probably try and get it set up in June to start construction. And June, July, August, and September, you're looking at a 4 to 6 month window to get it completed. We're trying to get it done on the short end. That's why we rerouted traffic through Washington Boulevard. If you try and route the traffic through in place, the project gets more expensive because you have to put in temporary pavement. So routing the traffic down Washington Boulevard is the quickest way to get the project done. And so that's the method we're going about doing it. It'll be the least expensive way to do it too.
Is it all bad to route some traffic through heart of Camanche?
Well, it's not all bad for business per se, but there's a lot of foot traffic that happens there. So we're going to have to be keenly aware of that, and police involvement, public safety, and making sure that people can get across the street safely. We have installed some flashing blinkers over by Casey's and Central Park there. So, and I sure hope people are using it. It's just a push button that flashes the yield sign, even though vehicles are supposed to yield for pedestrians in the right of way. Hopefully the flashing blinker is there, and that's on all 4 corners now over there. So there's no excuse for people to not use it, because we only had them on 2 corners before. And hopefully they're going to utilize that. And there's other areas too where there's school children crossing. So we're going to work on having extra coverage for that. And if I need to be out there helping kids cross the street, I'll be out there helping kids cross the street. And we will address that as we need to. There'll be some other signage warning people to slow down that pedestrians are crossing, and we'll work from there.
A short-term detour anyway.
Short-term detour for sure, yes.
That roundabout was, like we said, was quite controversial. Is that people more accepting, you think? Are you hearing from people, or is it still the council seemed to support it all along?
Council supported it all, well, not all along. I think they got there. The more information they got, the more data they got from the engineers and from the DOT, the more they started to understand, and the more input from public safety, the more they really started to understand the importance of that project. I don't know if people are necessarily are accepting of it more. I have heard, though, from a few other people more recently that they're supportive of the project, that they understand the dilemma, and they're pointing out that there's other intersections along that highway that are just as challenging, or could become more challenging, and we'll see what that brings about.
Mention that too, and one of the developments in Camanche would be home to the Nave beef plant.
Yep.
Although you're not out there probably every day, they're going to be opening sometime soon. How's that project working? Do you keep up with that?
We do. Our engineering staff works with their engineering staff. We're working on getting them into the water and sewer system. Oh, well, they're in the water. They'll be in the water system. It's a matter of getting them into the sewer system, and we've been working on that with their operation, and making sure that their pre-treatment process works correctly, so we're not putting contaminants in the sewer. And they're going to be a great customer and a great employer and a great business to have in Camanche. I've heard a lot of extremely positive things about that, and people are very excited about Nave Beef being there, and I am too. I think it's going to be an excellent cornerstone local business for Camanche that I think will grow into other potential businesses further down the road.
Can you give us any secrets? Are you seeing maybe the kickoff of some other inquiries?
I think
Camanche? Let us in on some secrets.
I think the availability of that product there may spur some other businesses, but having that TIF district and the urban renewal area in place along Washington Boulevard, I think is going to be an excellent complement to Nave Beef. And there's nothing on the table as of yet, but this is how development works. This is how economic development works. You always have a cornerstone, a foundation, a project that spurs on other projects. But you have to be patient. You don't jump at the first thing, and you don't expect things to just show up on your door. You still have to go pursue them, but you have to provide the guidelines and the opportunity for businesses to even look in the first place.
We often talk about housing and developments there, and Camanche has had some. For the show, we're talking a little bit about housing. What's the situation in Camanche? Everybody likes new homes being built, refurbished, older homes. What's going on there? We've talked about some housing developments kind of in the process there.
So we're kind of at a standstill with land at the moment, although there are some other things going on that may spur some development, but nothing large scale at this moment. It's to the point where there have been a lot of even dead lots, and I call them dead lots. That's my terminology. These are lots that were in older subdivisions that have been vacant for a long time. Those have been sold and new houses built. So there's a high demand for property development in Camanche. And I've fielded a lot of inquiries about property development in Camanche. The issue becomes which land is going to sell, and which land is buildable. One of the things we did last year was we bought a key piece of property to make sure roads go through, to make other land available for development. We had reached the point of no more housing development happening on certain parcels of land because there was no more egress. You've maxed out your number of houses for egress. So now we have the control of the land to be able to make a road go through, and the city would be making that investment to do that in order to allow that other property to be looked at least for development. And the intent was always to have that road go through. This is the new Eden subdivision where it's Eden's Avenue, and it's supposed to go all the way down to 19th and connect those two. And that's something that we've looked at, and we're hoping that comes to fruition here soon.
I'm with Andrew Kida, Camanche City Administrator, and sometimes you work on these. Is it difficult to look in the longer term that the city administrator has to look at in Camanche to see those things and recognize 5-10 years down the road? You
always have to be doing that. You can't see the here and now. You have to be looking further down the road. And what that future is going to be. And a lot of what Comanche has been able to do is guided by its ordinances, which are strong in the subdivision development. And it's been very, whoever developed that, whoever created that document, and wherever they found it from, did an excellent job of preparing for future subdivisions for Camanche.
And as we get towards the end of the program, I always like to leave some time. Is there something that I didn't ask you about that you wanted to make sure is on your list?
Yeah. We'll be looking at the committee for funding for low to moderate income. This comes from the previous, the current TIF districts used for housing, and that's different than TIF districts for economic development, where 40% of the tax revenue that comes in from the TIF district for the housing areas goes into a low to moderate income fund. And we have the ability to release that to people who apply for it if they qualify for low to moderate income. And the city has committed to releasing $8,000 per person, and it's a 5-year forgivable loan. We're creating a committee of people to review the documents that people will have to submit. They'll have to give a lot of personal information, although the city will protect that personal information. The committees won't even be able to see who the people are. They'll just be able to see the project. But some people, their personal finances will have to be made available. We'll be blocking out names and all that, so people won't know who they are. But they'll just look at the merits of the project and that the people have funding available, or that they meet the funding standards, or the income standards. I'm sorry. So we'll be beginning that process here in the spring, and they'll meet quarterly, that committee, to review applications, and we'll be able to get money out to those folks. By the time this gets in full throttle next year, I think we'll have the ability to release $80,000 to $100,000 a year.
What can that money then be used for?
It can be if you need to replace a hot water heater or a furnace, or redo your roofing, or you need $8,000 towards windows. That's certainly, if you qualify for that, and it's income based, and it's the median income of the county, not just of Camanche. And I wish it were just of Camanche, because the median income would be higher than what the rest of the county is. But we have to go by that standard. That's the state government guideline. So they'll just fill out the application, and the committee will review it and see whether or not they meet the standards, and whether or not the project is coming in at the right cost. We have some key people that I think are going to be on the committee that are going to be able to make the determination as to whether or not people are getting good value for their dollar.
Andrew, are these, I guess, good projects for a community like Camanche to help people fix up what may be an older home?
Absolutely.
Is it these good things?
I think this is going to be a great program for seniors. They're going to be the easiest ones to qualify, and they generally don't have the money available to replace a hot water heater or a furnace or central air or whatnot. So that will be it'll be an excellent opportunity for them to continue to remain in their homes and make their homes more valuable when they go to sell.
Almost get done says, of course, we're approaching Christmas, so Merry Christmas, Happy
Merry
Holidays.
Christmas.
But,
Yep.
What's Camanche City Hall this week, next week? No, you're off today. This
This is a holiday. The city of Camanche is closed today. We did our holiday Friday and Thursday and Friday.
We're not closed. The town's not closed. City Hall is closed.
City Hall is closed, and city services are on a holiday. And I'm off all next week. So,
but then New Year's, what do you got?
New Year's Eve, we're closed New Year's Eve, so City Hall will be open again on Monday.
So closed today, tomorrow for Christmas, and then just Friday next week.
Correct.
So if you got business there, get it done early, and your drive-thru's not quite ready for that business.
Not yet. That's a technology issue. We're waiting for the technology to tidy up. So.
Well, thanks for coming in today, Andrew. Appreciate the time.
Thank you, sir.
You're listening to AM 1340 KR.